Well, switching gears a little bit, tell us what the future holds for the Comanche Nation College.
I'll jump on that one. One thing for sure, there's been a lot of the employee base there has been fearful of their positions. They've got three great things working for them. The media center is turnkey. It's cutting edge. It's great. We also have a testing center there that really doesn't encompass the college criterion. The testing center, we have teachers from Texas that do get paid more than Oklahoma teachers come up here to get certified through our testing center. So it's a very relevant part of that structure there. Also, we have a GED program. Most of our children that can't get through that high school process, they do have that chance, and even adults to get this GED. I think it's kind of overkill when we have a dual master's teaching GED, but the property itself, it's in trust right now. That's a paramount position to be in. You're in the middle of Lawton, where we have federal trust property. So it's some great things to build on.
Vice Chairman Cothren, anything to add?
Well, I'm all for education. No ands, ifs, or buts about that. I am for education. But in this particular case, I think it was time to look at a different avenue. We've put over $25 million into this entity, and I just feel like it's time that we look at expanding on that or doing something different, which we've talked about turning it into a total education center, taking all of our education that's here and housing it there and expanding, helping kindergarten through high school and even to college if we have to, for tutoring, for anything that our students may need, and not just call it the Comanche Nation College, but the Comanche Nation Education Center, which will still have to employ employees and things like that. So the fear that's out there, I think, is just from people wanting to put that fear monger out there. Most of the employees should not be that concerned, but I feel like we are going to make a change, and I think it's going to be a better change for the Comanche tribal members.
On this business committee, Andrew, we have 2 retired educators. We have our secretary-treasurer that's always advocated education. He was very instrumental in writing what our youth program was supposed to do. Science, technology, engineering, and math. What is our nation lacking in? It's lacking in STEM. It is. I always bring this out. People are probably sick and tired of hearing it. But I believe as a Chinese can do calculus in the 7th grade, so can any Comanche child. I really thoroughly believe in that. But we have a retired high school teacher. We have a retired principal on our committee now. And I would hope that the educators would bring forward what their ideology is for this property.
Well, to the other members, is the Comanche Nation getting the rate of return on the college that it should?
Well, I don't know about that. I do know that after 13 years of declaring it to be a college institution, we never did accomplish the accreditation, which is vitally important for a college, for their students to transfer the hours that they received there. And I don't know how that went. It probably didn't go. But as a retired educator, as a advocate for Comanche language preservation or maintenance, I would like to see this committee develop programs that will help our Comanche people understand our language, learn our language, use our language. I think this is vitally important as Comanche Nation for us to be able to say we have a living language. And that would be a great setting for that type of program.
And why is it important to preserve that language?
The language is the center of Comanche culture. You don't have a true Comanche culture without the language and its descriptions of the stories, the songs, the dances. You go to a Comanche speaker and ask them to translate something into English, and it's almost not, they're not able to translate it into English as it really means in Comanche. It's a beautiful language, and it's a language that will define us, will sustain us in the future.
Let's talk about the nation's infrastructure. You've been working on it very hard over the past year.
Andrew, can I interject one last thing?
Yeah, about the Comanche Nation College?
The college, yes. A lot of Comanches, I'm coining a phrase by our secretary treasurer, people are always down on what they're not up on. The college, they had a 4-year window. It's called candidacy from the Higher Learning Commission in Chicago, Illinois. They're the ones that accreditate Cameron, OU, Tulsa, Oklahoma State. They had a 4-year window called candidacy. Well, they had told the Board of Trustees, you're not going to make it. What really perplexes the business committee that was here in November, December this year, why weren't we told? Why didn't you tell the supreme governing body, the tribal council? We have a great editor of our newsletter. Could have gave her the story. But we found out later when we were doing budget hearings. We started hearing innuendo, but not the full story. So when we came to the budget process, they came to our budget process empty-handed. They even had a hired accountant that couldn't give me a quarterly, couldn't give me a breakdown of cost to monies in the bank. And what we do to formulate the budget for our people, it was pretty stringent this year. And I would like to call upon our tribal administrator, due to the fact that he makes sure that they get their monthly monies. But him and I, over the last 6 months, all we've been getting is disparaging comments and hurtful statements towards us that we're the demise of this, when it was them not communicating to us that the Board of Trustees themselves withdrew this candidacy. So it's not a play on words here. This is the exact truth. Could you not have told us? And could you not have come to our proposed budget hearing prepared? So I'd like to call upon our tribal administrator if he could expand on what I'm talking about, because he is our day-to-day manager.
Well, since I've been in the office of the administrator, of course, I haven't really received any kind of correspondence or reports from the college. The first actual document that gave me any kind of detail of their budget was in the budget hearings in January of this year. And that was just a projected budget. It really had nothing to do with actual expenditures. And they have their monthly drawdowns that go through the tribal administrator's office. And I had requested copies of their actual expenditures so that I could ensure that those monies were being spent diligently. Of the 84 programs that fall directly under the administrator, the past year and a half we've spent working on keeping them in compliance and actually working within the budget that the people have voted on for them. And that's how we managed to get off of high risk. But with the college in particular, it has been a real struggle even from January till present time to get any actual data from them. And so every month they expect their monthly drawdown of the $2 million that the Comanche people vote on for them. But I have yet to really get a full detailed assessment of or a list of the actual expenditures. So I'm really not for sure, how to get that from them, because although those monies funnel through the administrator office, they're actually have been requested by the committee, the CBC, but we just haven't been able to get any kind of details on that. So with the possibility of moving higher education programs and work-related programs to the college, this is something that, I have to look at to ensure that we have the funds to keep them operable. And on the budget this year, it was proposed $500,000 for the Comanche Nation Education Center, which is the college, or what the college is to become. And that is mainly to be able to keep the facility operable, because we've had a hard time trying to get all of our facilities updated. Our infrastructure has been decaying. And so in the last year and a half, we've done everything we can to really assess our entire governmental operations, not just the financial part of it, but actual resources, tangible assets. And so one of the first things that we did was discovered that our employees were getting sick pretty regular here at the main complex. And so we discovered that there was black mold within the buildings. And when the capital improvement program tore into the walls, it was unbelievable, the volume of mold. It was really mushy that was in there. So we started renovating the complex, tore out carpet, replaced it. So we spent a lot of time, working on things, tangible properties that we have, getting inventories, doing repair and assessment. There was a lot of things that were let go, and at the college we've done a lot of work down there as well. Earlier they discussed this $4 million that went into the kind of rehab or renovation of that property. And so those are the kind of things that we have to really look at. But at this point, we're just kind of waiting to see if they will actually turn over any full report of those expenses. And until then, we're just kind of have a rough estimate of what those expenses will be.
Well, speaking of expenses, for the past year and a half, a lot of focus has been put on repairing the crumbling infrastructure. Tell us what problems you inherited and what progress has been made in the last year and a half.
I think Jimmy addressed some of that, what he was speaking to. I'd like to call upon the folks that have been here over this whole year. I know for a fact we've had a road that leads up to our EPA department that's been decrepit forever, and now they're getting a new road. But what Jimmy alluded to, this new flooring even in here, it expands the room, it's easy to clean, and we were commenting this morning that the Gahoo population out here was 3,000 times fold last year to what it is now. So a lot of things have been cleaned up here, but I'd like to call upon those that's been here over that year process of making this better. Ms. Susan?
Well, we have done quite a few things with Mr. Arterberry at the helm and stuff, and some of the things that we've done is we took back our community centers. They were under individuals in the different communities, and they weren't being maintained, and people were complaining that they couldn't use them, and people had too much control over the building itself. So we took them back, and now they're under the tribe. If someone wants to rent the building, they have to come here and do that with proper paperwork and stuff. The funds are used, instead of paying an individual to maintain it, we're actually using those funds to maintain the buildings. And so we have also implemented generators up here. They're at each and every one of our sites, our community centers, especially here because the Ouachita is so huge. We have several generators down there, but it's a place where our people can come in an emergency situation. And so those have all been implemented by Mr. Arterberry and getting some things done in that respect. The water park, my gosh, I can't say enough about the water park. That was never insured properly. The last flood we had, we didn't have flood insurance on it. It was a detrimental, extravagant expense for the Comanche tribe to keep that water park going. We've had to use a lot of our funds, tribal funds, and now we have flood insurance. Now we're fixing the things that are broken there and trying to get it in better condition. It is an old park. There are some things that just can't be fixed, but we have flood insurance on it. We have the proper insurance in place. So that's something that wasn't done prior to this administration and to the TA that's in place now.
Lady Vice Chair, I got to correct you. There was no insurance of the flood 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But you had insurance. We had another 100-year flood just last year. She had insurance, so everything was insured. So, good business practices happening. There is one thing, too, I'd like to add. Jimmy and his staff, Jimmy has a staff. It's all the employees of our nation. They've done a complete inventory. Now, that was done when I was TA, and it hasn't been done in a long time. And Jimmy has done that, capitalized the equipment. So, once again, we're on top of things. Insurances, on top of that game. This is a business. You have to run this government. You got to streamline it. If you don't know what you're doing in management, don't even run for office, because you got to streamline the operations. It's just not, let's go get the money and run and do something. The infrastructure, does it need more? Yes, it needs a lot more. We got a new courthouse being built. I think our PIO department's getting something new. I don't know, maybe they are, but the thing is, our complex has been here 40 years. 40 years. We moved up here in 1978. And everything that we've got up here was a grant at one time for some other purpose. And then we just turn it around in 5 years and call it an admin, or we call it an education center, or we call it a property house. That wasn't their first intent. So the continuation for our people to have something they're very proud of, a safe location where they can go, we need to continue with the infrastructure for sure. Not get bigger, but can we make it nicer and secure and clean?
Well, you mentioned the flooding, you mentioned having a safe place to go. This being Oklahoma, of course, we know there's going to be severe weather coming through. Tell us about the tribe's emergency management team, who it is, what they do, and how it benefits the tribe.
I'd like for you to turn to our TA. He's very instrumental in bringing this to where it's very relevant for our nation.
Okay, sure. I'd love to answer that question. So our emergency management team is composed of employee volunteers. And it's really pretty awesome because since I came on, that's one of the things, and Vice Chair Cothren mentioned that. So all of our facilities have a generator. So all these years, our complex has been here since I believe around 78, 79. And these are the kind of things that, have been overlooked. So we have generators here at the complex. We have them at all of our community centers. We have them at our nutrition center, our shelters. So now if there's an emergency situation, we can heat in the wintertime our tribal members if the power's out, or we can cool them in the summer. But our emergency management team has been very effective. They're doing sandbags during the flood. They also have a Facebook page where people can send, emails or text in. We have a mass texting system, so we're in total communication with our tribal community. And they've been very effective in helping us prepare for all of these emergency type situations. So it's really pretty awesome because, like I said, they're employee volunteers. It's not a requirement of their job. And that shows you that the commitment of our employees and our nation and really, looking out for all of our members. And so if they're in extended stays in any of these shelters that we open up, if there needs to be in the various communities, then they also will provide them with, drinking waters, warming blankets. If they're there beyond an 8-hour period of time, then also they provide meals. So they work very close with the community. They work very close with the Red Cross. So it's a pretty awesome thing to be able to know that they're on call around the clock in times of, a flood, a tornado, any kind of disaster or emergency that arises. So the Comanche Nation is really, taking the lead in that area as well. And as I said, they can reach out to us. We have a hotline that is effective that they can call, our tribal members can call in an emergency situation. It could be, trees that have fallen down in an ice storm or a tornado, or they can text in, or they can get online and come reach us through our Facebook page. And that's our way of communicating as well with the community, because it can tell them what area that our emergency team is in so that they can reach out to them in an emergency situation. So the Comanche Nation is really advanced in that area. And I think, what's surprising is most of our people do not really realize the volume of services and assistance that we have. When you stop and look at all of those programs and what they do, it's pretty phenomenal when you consider all of the tribes in the nation and what our capabilities are and actually what we're doing. So we're really excited about, having those things in place to assist all of our tribal members.
Let's talk about projects on the horizon. What economic development plans does the Comanche Nation have?
That's the best subject of all. It seems like for the last 2 years, well, let's be honest, the last 2 years it's been about stabilizing what was at an unstable time. Like I said, our 16,776 constituents are on track to be at 17,500 by next year. It's an ever-increasing population. Our job as business committee people is to bring this revenue to our people where we won't miss a beat. We won't miss a beat. We do have to have the continuation of staying on budget. We have to do this. We had a perfect year last year, and we're on track to have a perfect year this year. What does that do? That says we're 100% stabilized. On this stabilization, we really need to look at where are we at. Are we given, I had an analogy the other day where I had a piece of paper. I could show it, but I'm not. Serviceability to our people versus the cost to get it to them. I think we need to get the serviceability expanded and the cost to get it to them shortened. I can't explain it any other way. It's called a cost ratio. And what is our purpose here? Our purpose goes right back to our Constitution, the common well-being of all Comanches. That one Comanche living in Guam has the same right to service as that Comanche living in Lawton. And that should be our objective. And it is our objective. We got to go on ahead and get to the point of stabilization. We have what we would call properties that have great net worth. They do. We have 4.5 gaming properties, but we need to call it what it is. It's still on the exterior a tin building with stucco on it. In the inside, it looks like $3 trillion. But on the outside, we need to come to true mortar and brick type of gaming venues. And we can do this. We have encroachments that are happening to our nation right now. We need to be very adamant about standing guard to our own jurisdiction. We cannot miss a beat. We can't allow someone to encroach on our property and take revenue from our tribal members. That's only smart. So we're looking at some properties. We do have a way to come to these properties and build a mega structure. There is ways of doing this. It's not using our own money, which was always told to us in the past that we have to have full ownership. Well, if you make a partnership for folks that know how to do it, that know how to make the money, and we have a partnership of money we never seen before, and keep our existing 4.5 properties open, that's good business. Who does that? The great progressive tribes of this United States do it that way. What have I learned from them? Be as progressive as they are. Don't fear good business. Fear your reluctance to not do good business. Fear things you've never tried before. If we keep fearing like that, I come from people and all of the people here. They feared nobody. We are Comanches. We feared no one. In our great past, we weren't someone that just sat around. We went from Canada all the way to Mexico. This was our domain. It's still in our spirit. We need to get refocused. We need to quit attacking each other and work together, collectively together. Okay, the stabilization is getting here. To sit there and just have idle words, that's not going to get us anywhere. So, do we have the locations? We've got some great locations for these mega structures to do good business in. Also, we're trying to get to the point where we're stabilizing what we do in retail. The retail that we do have. Is it worthy to continue this route? I don't know. I think the Comanche people that voted this year for us to be relevant to new businesses. Our people voted for $3.5 million for new businesses. What do we structure this around? Well, this is the first year that I can think of since we made the agreement with the federal government to give ourselves a per capita. This is the first year in our history that I can think of, we actually gave $3.5 million for new businesses. So this is up to this committee to be tasked to bring new business for new revenue. And who is our market? Our market has always been Fort Sill. That's like a whole town right there. What is the soldier's needs? Does Lawton meet that need? I don't think so. So we have to formulate that economic ideology around that. It's always been there. It's always been there. We've got some key locations to put mega structure on, and we are going to do it. We have to do it. If we don't do it, then we're going to allow the encroachment to take over everything we've worked on. The Comanches were first to strike on the gaming theater. We're the first ones. And we can't sit back and let somebody just kick us out of what we started. Okay, is gaming the only way to go? You never know. You know, we got a situation coming in 2020 with the state of Oklahoma. You and I elaborated who owes who. You know, we give money for education. Do we get results back as a state? That's the whole question. There's one thing immediate that we are going to do is upstart a high rollers sports bar type of casino effect. That's going to be pretty quick. What does that do? Do we have high rollers in this 7-county area? We sure do throughout Texas. If we can get them there, keep them retained there, make sure they feel like a king and queen they are, and usually these people do spend quite a bit of money. So is it just casino business? No. We have to conquer the retail part. We also have to conquer what is this housing need. You know, we had a situation where we had a thing called BRAC that brought more soldiers into Fort Sill. We didn't capitalize on that at that time. Many businesses did. We can't miss these opportunities anymore. I can't do this alone. This is no dictatorship. This committee right here, these elected, we do it together, collectively. And I know other people have some great ideas here for our economic development, and I hope they share it.
Well, on that note, let's talk about if anybody would like to chime in, or the Vice Chairman Cothren was interested to get some updates from you on some of the great things happening with the nation.
I think we need to look at different venues. We've talked about this. We've visited with maybe doing a grocery store, trying to provide more insurance for our tribal members. IHS is a board that I sit on, and I see that as being a great thing for our people to have a place to go to, but I see that maybe we could do a little bit more and expand on insurance in some form or fashion. I've tried to look into that, and it's kind of a hard road to go, but those are things that I would like to see happen. Do something more for our students, as far as being able to bring them back in, our educated children or adults that get out of college. Let's bring them back and get their ideas, get their views, because sooner or later we're not going to be here, and we need to make sure that our government stays strong and stays functional and stays in a good direction that will benefit my grandchildren, their grandchildren, and so forth, and that's what I focus on, is making our tribe better for down the road.
Well, before we wrap up, did any other of the esteemed members of the CBC have anything they wanted to add? If not, I'll ask Chairman Nelson to conclude the session for us.
Well, I got to tell you, Andrew, this group will share a lot of things. They've got a lot of great ideas. They do. I just want to say to our Comanche Nation people, this morning we did a dedication to a chapel at our Indian Health Service. A chapel, something so small, but we had such a great turnout. And I was so proud of our Comanche princess being there. Ashley Mithalo is one of the sweetest souls as a princess, and she represents us very well. I'd like to also congratulate Miss Shelby Mata. She was crowned Miss Indian Oklahoma. We're proud of Shelby, and we know she'll represent our Comanche Nation well. Our Comanche Nation workforce. We just received the Outstanding Grantee Award by the United States Department of Labor. Of the 176 Native American Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act programs nationally, the Comanche Nation was one of 6 to receive this award. This is good stuff. There's only limited positions here at the tribe, but what the vice chair was alluding to, we had 17 Comanches graduate with a master's degree and 1 doctorate. We got to set up a mentorship program, but we cannot act like a government of social service, not anymore. We have to treat our government as a true corporation for the future of this nation that's ever growing. We need these brightest to come home, to be mentored, or better yet, mentor us. Get us to this 21st century. There's so many things on the horizon. We talked about this college. I think we've leapfrogged over kindergarten. I think we leapfrogged over daycare. I think we jumped over 1st through 6th, secondary and post-secondary to say we're going to do a college. We've got to better equip our children. We have an opportunity to start charter schools. Let's do it. We can do it. The nation is currently reevaluating our revenue allocation plan to see if additional funds are required to the per capita in 2017. Our people said vote on it, and they did in 2010. Not one group here has followed up on that 2010 order of our supreme governing body. We get this year behind us, I think we can do something. It's an order. If we can't do it, can we at least show our people a de-obligation letter from those that are supposed to give us the award? We've seen nothing but lip service, and it's our job to give a yay or a nay. Where's that yay or nay come from? From D.C. So You know, our nation is on track. Like I said before, we got a court. It's being codified at this time. It's 3/4 of the way. It's almost like it's getting codified and the building's being built physically. It's like they're both right here. And eventually we will have a set court system. A lot of our people say, well, we got to change our Constitution. You know, it comes to this. If we can't do it collectively as a nation and we rely on somebody's opinion, it has to be collectively as a nation. It does. There's a great idea put forward by a Comanche that lives in Hobart. And he's saying, why don't you have a Comanche Constitution encampment? I would like to coincide that with the Comanche Nation Fair. Will they get primo camping spots? Maybe. I don't know. But, you know, I think we need to collectively come together, feed the camp, and say, what about this? What about this? We're leading the way with the court. At least we'll have the law, protect our Constitution to the fullest. All the acts that have been passed. We got a tax act. We have this Economic Development Act. We actually have this charter that's, you know, that we're having situations with this charter. Where can we find resolve? You can't find it on this table. This table does not have one judge sitting here. This table does not have one prosecutor sitting here. This table does not represent a jury. Was the court needed 45 years ago? It was needed 50 years ago. So we're on that point. We're in the process of a big story, and our 116-mile ownership collectively with the Kiowa and the Apache, a 116-mile stretch called the Red River, our south boundary of our original reservation. Every allotted land comes with a federal patent that will be ours, signed by President McKinley back in the 1900s. He signed this. Why did he sign this? It's to say we recognize our true trust-to-trust nature with you, Comanche Nation. So what has happened? Our Red River has gradiently moved to the north. We have Comanche lands in Texas now. And we have a Texas Congress that's up there in D.C., collectively with one congressman from Oklahoma, that's taken us to task to tell us we got to consult with Oklahoma and we have to consult with Texas. Wait a minute. We're a nation within a nation. Why are we consulting with the state? And not only does it affect our trust lands, there are a lot of Oklahoma constituents that are not Native American that own the same land that will be having a situational problem with Texas claiming more than what Oklahoma should. Is the Red River rivalry real? It's really real, and it's on. And, you know, our neighbors, our friends, the Kiowa and the Apache have to join us on this. We have to work at this together. So it's a big story. You know, if we all look collectively at what the Cobell Act gave all Native Americans, is America worth $800 each from the Cobell Act? I don't think so. I don't think so. And I surely know our Red River gradient boundary is not worth a push-off to not fight for it. So that's where we're at. Big things to do. Keep our constituency to the point that they're used to for a growing population. And this is what we are called, the Comanche Nation Business Committee. I want to thank you, first off, Andrew. You shot it to us really hard, you know, and that's good because our people shoot it to us hard. They are Comanche. We respect them. We love them. No matter what they say, we have to because we are Comanche. Thank you.